Hello world, welcome to a Champions Online build showcase. With the buff to medical nanites, I wanted to make a gadget healer. The biggest issue with that is there are no heals in the gadget tree other than bionic shielding, which isn't really a very good main heal. So I came up with an idea for a healer that uses gloves, so it could be tech-based. And pretty much everything revolves around emanating from, well, the gloves. The closest heal for a tech heal emanating from gloves that I found was Celestial Conduit. Definitely looks like it comes from the gloves, and it's actually not a bad heal, especially if you're stacking lots of presents like I do in this build. And let's dig into the powers. I started off with the force powers because I think they pretty much all come from the hand, and it makes it look, nice tech-based thing going on there. So the first three are Force Bolts, which I took Energy Refraction because why not? It's kind of like, free little bubble on yourself every once in a while. And since I just have my energy builders on auto fire, it's not like it requires any effort on my part. And then I took Force Blast as the next power. It's a nice single target, and it also has some knocks. I don't generally use it too much. I try not to use it too much when I'm with other people and the target doesn't have knock resistance. Usually against bosses it doesn't matter because they're not generally knockable anyway. But it's also nice to, if something's in your face or something's about to do a melee attack on somebody, you can just knock them out of the way. And then Force Shield, it's just a shield. It does shield things, but the Force Sheath advantage is awesome because it gives you free energy for blocking, which is what you're going to do anyway. And once we get to level 8, then pretty much a whole bunch of new stuff opens up, and this is where I just pick up medical nanites, because why not? Of course, rank it all the way up, there's no reason not to. It's kind of like a mini regeneration for your whole party, which is nice. It also has a small damage resistance buff to your whole team, this is to all damage. Before it was just some shitty resistance to dots. Really, who cares about that? So it's definitely a lot better now. It kind of works like all the other support passives in that when you're in hybrid mode, you get more self-healing, and when you're in support mode, you have more healing for your team. And of course, it fits in nicely with Sentinel Aura, which also has background, no maintenance healing, so it's kind of nice that way. Now, the major healing doesn't come until level 11 and 14, which kind of sucks, but at level 11, if you're doing alerts then, well, you can only start them at level 10, so waiting one more level, probably not a big deal. But then you get Celestial Conduit. The Celestial powers, a lot of them kind of do double duty as both healing and damage. It does make some of them kind of wonky, but Celestial Conduit's a pretty good choice, and of course it emanates from the hand, so it looks really good with the whole tech-based healer thing. Unfortunately, it kind of requires Illumination to work. With Illumination, it's kind of cool that you have the buff and debuff thing going down, but it kind of sucks that, as far as I'm concerned, Brilliance is mandatory. It basically makes Illumination into an AoE, so if you are in a group and everyone's together, you can just cast it on yourself and then everyone will be hit up with Illumination, which is kind of awesome. Or when you're going for a mob group, you just hit one person kind of in the center and then everyone else gets hit with it too. And after Illuminate is Compassion. It's a little bit late. It's going to be your energy needs and it's not until level 17. But the nice thing is that Compassion just works if you're healing somebody. So if you don't have to heal people a lot, it's still going to gain stacks with you doing nothing because you have medical nanites. Pretty handy that way. It's just it's pretty much the only healer passive. DPS has a smorgasbord of different toggle forms, but for healers you pretty much get Compassion and that's it. Conviction, because healing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a click heal, and it's mostly for healing myself. And I added Reverence because rank 2 was more than plenty. I think it was 1,400 tooltip healing at rank 2, that's more than enough for me. Considering I also have Celestial Conduit, Medical Nanites, Sentinel Mastery, Sentinel Aura, and I have Nanobot Swarm with Rejuvenating Injectors. I don't think I'll need to be healing that often. Reverence is kind of lame, but it's why not? If I'm healing myself, I might as well give them, the rest of my team some pity healing, because I can. Molecular Self-Assembly. Yeah, there are 0 energy unlocks for healing, so this is kind of what I went with. The low intelligence means it's not going to give you a whole lot of energy, but there's a good number of powers with cooldowns, so it's basically you're going to get free energy from powers you were going to use anyway, so why not? And it's not like there's anything else that I had to have in this build that was absolutely critical, so I get an energy unlock. Binding Shot. It's basically the Bolo reskin that you get from leveling the automaton or whatever it's called. It basically lets you apply some fancy crowd control, and it emanates from the hands, just like, everything else, so it definitely fits in with the tech glove theme. Thunderclap would probably work too, because, you're clapping your hands together, which, shockwave from, big chunky tech gloves would be awesome, but that's melee range, so... And it'd be kind of the odd one out. But if you really, really don't like Binding Shot, or you don't want bolos, you can get Thunderclap. It's not like a big deal. It's just there to apply the stun for Sentinel Mastery. And of course, it's also handy for, crowd control. The next two powers are just your two Resurrection powers. Sadly, Resurrection Serum from the Gadget Tree was actually nerfed, and it was never in the patch notes, so it's kind of the worst of the heals now. If you want one, and you really hate the way they changed Resurrection Serum, then you can go ahead and get the other ones, but this is the only one that's really in theme for a tech thing, because it's like, you inject someone with something, and they magically come back to life. Definitely very cool, except that it has the melee range restriction, which would have been fine if it didn't also have the 4-second charge up and the cooldown. So it pretty much got completely screwed for some odd reason, and I have no idea why they ruined this power so badly. Rebirth for yourself. I took Grave Consequences. I know it's not even remotely in theme, I just took it for fun because I had the extra points. But, I could always just say Mad Scientist thing, kind of going with the Red Serum thing. Just injecting some random corpses to do my bidding for a while. 35 is just Unbreakable, your typical active defense. Something different from Masterful Dodge, since it's one of the good active defenses, and it still works. And then for the last power, I took Nanobot Swarm. It basically just lowers the cooldowns of all your powers, but none of the powers have particularly long cooldowns except for Unbreakable. And then I put Rejuvenating Injectors for more healing for no compelling reason. I mean, you could easily replace this with one of the ultimates. Gravity Driver or Implosion Engine would both work. And I mean, Gravity Driver looks like you're using your hands to do something. It might be a little bit out of theme. I think it would still work. And Implosion Engine, of course, because it's all techy. I would say Ascension, except that it's absolutely not even remotely in theme, because you look like an angel with the wings. I mean, it's a really cool animation, but it totally doesn't work. But Implosion Engine is still pretty nice for the whole, clumping everything together so the rest of your team can AoE dump on them, which is fun. On to the talent trees. Of course, the first one is Presence, since it's Presence for the primary super stat. I just went with Repurpose and Grandeur for the first row. Grandeur is bonus offense for every 10 presence, and then Repurpose is bonus healing for each point of offense, so that's nice. For the second row, I went with Moment of Glory and Force of Will. Since I have high presence, these two aren't going to be exactly amazing. It's just more crit chance and more defense. Once you have 400 presence, you can just start putting things into your other stats, because you shouldn't need anything more than that. I mean, you can, but I would say it'd be better to start investing in, well, mostly Constitution, but probably Dexterity, maybe a little bit too. But with Moment of Glory, even having more Constitution, since it scales with secondary stats, will still raise the critical hit chance. And next I went with Sentry. Just Fortified Gear on the first level, which is, your standard more defense from items. And then Sentry Aura, because it gets everybody on your team a little bit more damage resistance, which is nice with the new Mad Knights, which also have damage resistance, so hey. And then for the second level, I went with Fortify and Reinforce. Fortify gives bonus healing and bonus damage resistance. It stacks up to 3 times, so basically whenever you're critting, either from damage or healing, you're getting these stacks of Fortify. I mean, who would want to say no to bonus healing strength? So it's 6% to both with all 3 stacks, so that's nice. And then Reinforce, if you critically heal on an ally, they get 10% resistance to all damage for 5 seconds. If you critically strike, you get the 10% resistance to all damage for 5 seconds. So it's kind of nice. It works with this build because you're gonna probably do both. You're not gonna heal all the time, and there is a decent crit chance, and the crit chance is only gonna get better if you want to invest in better gear. And then the next tree is the Sentinel tree. I went with Caregiver and Sentinel Aura. Sentinel Aura, obviously, because it stacks nicely with the passive healing for medical nanites, and since it scales with presence, there's going to be a nice amount of presence. Caregiver is just bonus healing when you are healing other people. It's 12% extra healing strength, which is nice. And for the second level, I went with Moment of Need. It just increases your chance to get a critical heal effect by 9% since I put all 3 points into it, which is nice. I mean, more critical healing means, you know, more things from proccing from the Sentinel tree, or Sentry tree. And I just put a point in Genesis because why not? There really isn't a whole lot else. I mean, I guess Eternal Spring for the 20% more, well, it'd only be 10% extra healing over the next 6 seconds. And then Wither, it causes the target to take 5% more damage. I mean, that would be fine too, but I just went with Genesis for cheaper healing. Sentinel Mastery is still awesome. It would probably be awesome even if it was nerfed, so that I actually did the amount of healing that was on the tooltip with only 2%, because it'd be healing that you're not doing. It's just like free passive healing, which worked great if you can't always get to everyone. I mean, it helps with the area effect attacks, hitting everyone on your entire team, and of course stacking with medical nanites and Sentinel Aura is just not exactly insignificant. It's a pretty decent amount of healing. I also have linked in the description a jump to the Google spreadsheet that I have for this and, well, pretty much all of my builds, my freeform builds. And I also have a link to the forum, so if something should change, I can update that, which is nice. I mean, they are doing quite a few changes lately, so you never know. Things happen.